So, hello, revolutionaries, and welcome back to the Revolution channel. I know it's been almost a month since I've last uploaded a video, but actually, I've been really busy all this time, and especially so when we had such a difficult chapter to do this time. I mean, this chapter 8, this actually made my brain exercise so much. It was really a pain in the. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So, but what I'm trying to say is that this chapter was, freaking hard. It wasn't actually the chapter that was hard. There were a few concepts that weren't explained as nicely as you would have expected them to, considering their importance throughout the chapter. So almost took me a week just to just to understand, just to research two small concepts. I mean, I had to search them up all over the internet, read so many articles, read so many different viewpoints of the same theory, and then sum it up all up, and then think of ways to how to explain to someone else. Okay, so there's this thing that I get it inside my mind, I completely understand what it means, but there's still this dilemma as to how to explain it to the other person. Okay, so that's what took me almost a week. And besides that, I was really busy preparing for IELTS and a lot more. Of course, I'm preparing to go to some foreign university by next year, so that's why I had a lot in my mind. Now, without wasting any more time, let us start with Erik Erikson's psychosexual theory. Now, before that, I would also, let's just open the actual chapter as well. It'll be beneficial, I believe. So here we are, block 3, and it's unit 2 from here. Okay, so this chapter name is Stages of Development. Okay, so we all know what development is by now, and if you still don't know, development is just growth in a positive direction. Okay, to sum it up, I mean, development is again a complex topic, but to sum it all up, development is basically growth in a positive direction. So it actually reintroduces Sigmund Freud's theory. We've already covered this in one of the previous chapter. That's why I basically skipped all of this part, and we have just started the chapter from halfway within it. Okay, like all of this, the exact same text is just copy pasted here. So we've already covered it in detail in one of the previous videos, of whose which link I definitely won't give in the description. You'll just have to search it up yourself. Okay, so after this comes, now this is the part that is new in this chapter, which is what? Erik Erikson's. I know this sounds, his name sounds a little bit weird. Erik Erikson. I mean, Erik, then Erik and Erikson. Erik's son. So like it could be like father's name was Erik, and then his son's name became Erikson, and grandson's name became Erik Erikson. Lame joke, yeah. So Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory. Psychosocial theory, I mean, this is a combination of two words, psychology and social society, or you can say. So it basically means your psychology and your social, like how you deal with social affairs. So it combines two things. Psychology here basically means related to cognitive or mind related activities, or the sphere of the brain, the sphere of mind, and your social circumstances. It's a combination of them both. I'll just have to pause the video right. Alright, so I had to pause the video because my stupid dog was scratching the doors to signal me to let her in. Moving on, let's start the actual theory. Erikson was a psychoanalytic like Freud, but differs from Freud in regard to psychosexual development. Okay, so how is psychology and the sexual development is related? In regards to that, he was different than Freud. This means that he accepts Freud's ideas as basically correct. Erikson was much more culture-oriented than Freud, and his theory is labeled psychosocial instead of psychosexual. So, I mean, the basic difference between Freud and Erikson could be said that Erikson believed that a person's psychology is affected by his social circumstances more instead of his sexuality. Freud believed that a person's sexual nature or his sexual feelings or his sexuality affects his psychology more than anything else. Okay, so now let's just jump on to the notes, because we're going to read about the epigenetic principle. Oh wait, I actually didn't write what epigenetic principle is, did I now? Oh, okay, so I didn't write what, just Alright, so it turns out that I had actually already written about the epigenetic principle, and I just by mistake made this text a little bit too large. So I thought that it was another heading, but no, it was part of the main text. So epigenetic principle cannot be, it's not like it's a word and I tell you its meaning. So we need to discuss it. And this is all about epigenetic principle. So epigenetic principle is basically a principle which state that development functions, like development functions by the. So epigenetic principle is concerned with the development, and it is related to development, and development functions by the. Okay, so development functions through or by, like follows. It follows the epigenetic principle. Development follows the epigenetic principle. And what exactly is epigenetic principle? Epigenetic principle means that our personality develops through a predetermined order. Okay, this is that epigenetic principle which Erik Erikson has employed in his theory. So Erik Erikson says that development functions through epigenetic principles, that is through a predetermined order. So epigenetic principle can be considered as equal to developing in a predetermined order. That is one stage after another only. Okay, so it's not like several stages are being covered up simultaneously or like sideways. So it's like one after another, one stage and then another stage. So you must be wondering how many stages there are as such. So there are 8 stages in total, and in order to reach the next stage, the previous stage must be successfully completed, of course. Okay, here it says that, which means that our personality development through a predetermined order, and there are 8 stages. Then what is psychosocial virtues or strength positive outcome? Each stage involves certain development tasks. Okay, I think we just go by the notes. Okay, so these notes actually cover, these aren't actually notes, you can say that these are detailed notes. Okay, so they cover almost all the important parts, almost all the important topics from the actual text, and plus they contain explanations and definitions that I've created myself. So they contain everything that you need to score a perfect 100 or perfect 80, whatever it is. Like if you remember these notes, if you can actually write these notes as it is, you'll score a perfect 10 by 10. Okay, I mean it's like you say it's like I don't know, like an extract, you can say a collective extract of all that text written in that chapter. I have just summed it up here. So like I said, there are 8 stages in total. Each stage involves certain psychosexual developmental tasks. So you can say that it's like a kind of, think of it as a game, that there are 8 stages in this game, and each stage has some particular tasks that we need to perform in order to uh, in a particular time limit as well. Okay, so we need to perform certain tasks in certain time in order to clear that stage. Okay, think of it as a video game, that there are 8 stages to complete that video game, and in each stage we are given some kind of task and an amount of time, like we have to complete it. Or you can think of it as Big Boss. Okay, like you are in the house of Big Boss and you will have to complete 8 stages successfully, and whoever will last till the end will be the winner. And this time and this is the first stage, and during the first stage Big Boss will give you some certain tasks that you have to complete. If a stage is managed well, we carry with us certain virtue or psychosocial strength. So it's similar to a game, right? Our life is practically a game. So it says that if you manage those tasks great, so if you manage those tasks well and you successfully complete their stage, then they will give you some power-ups, they will give you some boosters, which you can carry on with you to the next stage. Of course, that's how they will be helpful, with a certain virtue or psychosocial strength that will help us through the rest of the stages of our life. So those boosts or those qualities that they give us, they would be helpful throughout all of the rest of the stages. Like it's not for the immediate next stage, you can use that same qualities or that same virtues in the 7th stage as well, in the 8th stage as well, in the 5th stage as well. You get what I'm saying? However, if the person faces more failures than successes, so it's like, I mean, you don't need to successfully complete every single task in order to complete that stage. You need to, I mean, it's not actually completely exactly defined, but you need to do more successful tasks and less failure tasks. Okay, I mean, you need to complete tasks more successfully, and you need to fail less often in order to complete a stage. But however, if the opposite happens, if you keep on failing more and more, then you actually succeed into completing those tasks, then the personality will become unhealthy, because this game is actually your life, and this game is directly related to your life. So the more the worse you play this game, or the worse you are at this game, the worse your life will become. Okay, it is reality. It's not like a virtual game, it's a actual real life game. So if you lose this game, you lose your life. That's it, and that is actual hardcore reality. I mean, I'm not trying to get a metaphor it as a game. It is actually a real game. I mean, yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. Like, this is, I'm just trying to metaphorically use the phrase a game, because it coincides with the with that word so much, with what a game is. It's similar to that. However, if the person faces more failures than successes, personality will be unhealthy. Of course, it's we're talking about personality here and not health, like not physical health. Personality. If we do not manage a stage well, we may develop malignancy or maladaptation. So this is malignancies and maladaptations were the thing which took me a whole week at least to understand, and then be able to explain it to others. I mean, not exactly malignancy or maladaptations, they were easy, but this positive word here, you see, this positive and negative right here. I mean, you must be wondering that what's so special about these two words, positive and negative. You couldn't understand these two words, positive and negative. How much long can one person take to just understand these two things? So if you go through the book, uh, guys and girls as well, so if you go through the book, you'll probably skip this positive and negative part. It won't, like, it will stuck at your like somewhere inside your brain, and you must be wondering that what is it. I mean, you get a kind of, a kind of like hinge that you would wonder what this is, but you'll most probably skip that part. Okay, because it's not that important. At least you'll feel that it's not so important. And of course, it won't be important in your exam either. You can just write it as it is without understanding it. But this is what we do differently in here. We understand everything, because we are not doing this so that we can get good grades, so that we can pass our exams. We're doing this so that we can actually acquire some real knowledge, and we can be proud of saying ourselves that yeah, we are educated, we are knowledgeable people. It's not like that I have passed this exam, I have passed that exam, so I went to that college. Yeah, so I can feel proud of myself. You can feel proud of self, because what you have done that beautifully. Yeah, so we were at malignancies and maladaptations. So malignancies and maladaptations, so just consider them two terms as of now. We'll explain it later. These two terms take place, or these two things happen if you fail to manage a stage, or if you do not manage a stage very well. I mean, you just pass it, but you don't actually really, successfully complete it in a very good manner. So what is a malignancy? Malignancy is actually, you can say, a kind of, a condition that happens when we have too little of the positive aspect and too much of the negative aspect, or of the negative effect. So now the curious mind will seek to know the answer of what exactly does positive aspect and negative aspect means here. Positive aspect of what, negative aspect of what? Okay, so they haven't explained it anywhere, and this is what took me a week to figure out what positive and negative are actually. I mean, does it denote positive qualities and negative qualities, or does it denote positive mindset or negative mindset, or does it denote positive feelings or negative feelings, or something else? Okay, so they haven't explained it anywhere, and hardly have they explained it all over the net as well. Negative here means things that can actually make you worse. So negative here means that things that can actually make you worse. Okay, like have bad effect on you, or alternating not alternating, a positive effect on you, or have effects that harm you physically Or I yeah, just before we move on, let me tell you that I still haven't been actually able to comprehend this negative and positive aspect completely, or say that I haven't been able to form it into words. Okay, I haven't been able to completely form into such words that you may be able to understand it. So there might still be, some phrases, some things missing in it, but still we've covered up most of it. And yeah, you can go by this definition, and you can write this definition in their exams as well, and it will be better than most other students, of course. Or have effects that harm you physically or even mentally to such an extent that it starts hindering your development or growth in a harmful manner. So okay, we don't actually need to write harmful in here. We'll just create yeah. So negative effects. So what are negative effects? Negative effects include everything. Okay, you can say negative effects or negative aspect include everything that can harm you, that can make you worse. That you say what's the opposite of development? That recesses you. Recess, I think, is a word that is opposite of development. I don't actually really know what is opposite of development. And there isn't a word either. I mean, regression. Yeah, regression was the word. So anything that regresses you, okay, so you're supposed to go in a particular direction, but something that actually moves you in the opposite direction, or something that harms you physically, like physically, a punch, a kick, a gunshot, maybe anything like that, or something that harms you physically or even mentally, like mental stress, mental torture, or negative feelings, negative vibes, all these kind of things that hinder your development or growth. Okay, so that are a barricade between your development, between your growth. All of these things are considered negative or negative effects. This is what negative effect is. So malignancy happens when you have too little of the positive things or positive aspect of life. Yeah, positive aspect, I'd say here that these are actually related to life. Too little of the positive aspect. Yeah, so this word is actually, hella important. So important. I can hardly describe it to you in words. I mean, this word of life. This is actually a concentrated version of my 1 week's worth of time, and all that hard work that I had to put in this off life. These two words are actually, a concentrated extract of all that, and too much of things that may have a negative effect. And we'll be using these terms, these words, negative, positive, throughout the chapter right now, so that's why it's so important. And yeah, so malignancy, you can say it's a condition, or it's a kind of, blockage, or a thing that happens. Just take it as a thing, something that happens, something that a condition that takes place. So malignancy within itself is nothing. Okay, malignancy is it's like a kind of, condition. It's a kind of condition. Okay, so malignancy is a kind of condition that takes place when and malignancy, this condition, it's like, let me explain it through a very fine example. Consider it that you have a bad environment, so you can't and because of that bad environment you get some diseases. Okay, so think of the bad environment as malignancy is equal to that bad environment. Disease is equal to the diseases that happen due to malignancy, which we will discuss further on. So the disease is actually the disease that happen because of the bad environment is equal to the disease that happen through malignancy. Now there's also a reason why malignancy happens, or there's also a reason why the bad environment has taken place, right? Due to pollution, or due to harmful activities that we humans have caused. Okay, so in this case, in the case of malignancy, malignancy takes place when we go too much into the negative aspect of life, or when we have too much of the negative and too little of the positive. Okay, so this is like I gave you an example to juxtapose them against. So this is how. So malignancy is a kind of condition which happens when a person has too much negative negative effects in his life, in his or her life, has too many negative things and too little positive things, which later cause on several kinds of diseases or several kind of what's the word, man? I keep on forgetting that word. Or yeah, where was that word? Okay, I still can't find that word, so let's forget about it. So malignancy is what? I need to actually write it down here. I'm getting these kind of insights actually like while teaching it. Malignancy is a condition which happens due to the following reasons which we have read about right now, because of too much negative and too little positivity. Example, like one example of maladaptation would be a person starts sorry, not maladaptation, malignancy. An example of malignancy could be that a person starts to become very mistrustful of others. Okay, yeah, so this is, I mean, yeah, this is the disease. Think of it as the disease. So malignancy is the condition that is, I mean, bad environment. So malignancy is the bad environment which leads to which happens because of pollution. So pollution is equal to which happens because of, I mean, pollution can be taken as, because bad environments takes place due to pollution. So in the same case, malignancy takes place due to too much of negativity and too less of the positivity, which then leads to, so this pollution, this bad environments leads to diseases like diarrhea, cholera. So these cholera or diarrhea can be juxtaposed against a person being too much mistrustful. So malignancy leads to a person being mistrustful or mistrustness. Okay, so this is what malignancy leads to. Malignancy, I mean, like you can consider it as a kind of, say, vitamin deficiency. So let's say that someone has vitamin A deficiency. What does it mean? So that he has too little of the vitamin A, right? Which will then leads to night blindness. So in the same way, you can consider malignancy as vitamin. So malignancy, so vitamin A deficiency, sorry, vitamin deficiency. So malignancy is a kind of vitamin deficiency, which happens why? Because of too little of that vitamin. In this case, too little of positivity and too much of negativity, which then leads to being mistrustful. That is night blindness. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. I mean, no matter how many times I repeat it, that's as far as I can go in explaining it to you. Moving on with maladaptation, this is again the condition, a similar thing, just the opposite. In this case, there is too much positivity and too little negativity. Now you might be wondering that, oh my god, that's a good thing. I mean, too much positivity is obviously good. So why does again this kind of condition happens, and it will then again lead to diseases or obstructions in managing the stage, or distractions? Not distraction, man. That word was from D. I keep on forgetting it. No use remembering it. It means too much of the positive and too little of the negative. Positive here does not mean something that promotes healthy development or growth, but it only means an absence of negative. The more positive it is, the higher the absence of the negative aspect. Okay, so I mean, it can mean healthy development or growth. Actually, I need to edit a lot of it right now. So, positive does mean, yeah, positive means an absence of negative. Okay, so positive means an absence of negative. The more positive it is, the higher the absence of a negative aspect or changes that are good. Yeah, this line is important. I mean, I removed a similar line, but this is not exactly what it's saying. So positive does not refer to changes for the betterment or changes that are good. I mean, something can be positive even when it doesn't bring about a good change or a better change. And what I'm trying to say through it, that something that is not directly connected to you can also be positive. Like 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 a kitten giving birth, or a sparrow giving birth to its young ones, or feeding his young ones, that is a positive thing, right? But it doesn't affect you, it doesn't do anything to you. So positive need not be actually connected with you exactly, or promote to your growth or your development. But in general sense, yeah, that's what positive is. It means too much of the positive and too little of the negative. Positive means an absence of negative. So positive here means that there is an absence of negativity. Okay, and a little maybe more. Positive does refer to changes for the betterment or changes that are good. Actually, I won't make it complex. I just edited it. I mean, I still go by my previous version as to what I said, that it doesn't have to be connected with you, but that would make things more complex and more philosophical instead of more psychological. So we're going to keep it simple and short, and we're going to take positive as all the good things. Okay, not just the absence of negativity, but also the I mean it, of course. Yeah, so positivity, actually I'm trying to complicate things by involving two things in one. Let's just keep them separate. Let's just take positive separate and positivity in maladaptation as a separate thing. First, let me explain to you what positive means, what positive means, or what positivity means. Positive is anything that promotes to your growth, your healthy growth, healthy development. You just say your development. I mean, development is obviously supposed to be healthy, even if it eventually leads to your unhealthiness. So let's say that positivity is anything that leads to your healthy development. Okay, it could be any kind of thought, it can be an action, it can be a feeling, or it can be just just generally a vibe or anything. So anything that promotes to your healthy development is what can be considered positive. Okay, so but too much of the positivity is not good again. So these kind of, that can be considered positive, but positive has qualities, right? Positive qualities, there are some positive qualities like honesty or loyalty or something like that. Positivity does refer to changes for the betterment, changes that are good. Example, so the disease that comes from maladaptation, that is being too much positive, or you can say one of the diseases that come from being too much positive, that is a part of, that means that is a part of maladaptation, is a person who trusts too much, someone who is too trusting. Maladaptation, malignancy are both obstructions of psychological issues, conditions. Both are conditions that are actually, you can just say that malignancy and maladaptation are broad, or you big things, really big groups that contain smaller subgroups within them. So maladaptation can be, can be summed up as the group of all the diseases or all the obstructions or all the psychological issues that are formed due to being too much positive. And malignancy is the group of all the diseases, all the obstructions, all the psychological issues that arise from being too negative and too less positive, too little positive, that develop from the respective positive or negative fields. Yeah, so malignancy is basically related to negativity, and maladaptation is too positive. Maladaptation means diseases resulting from positivity, and malignancy means, I'm using the word disease here, but they don't actually contain any virus or something like that. But disease, in a general sense, encompasses all of these kind of things, and it includes within it psychological, mental, social, and physical harm as well. That's why I'm trying to form a general word for all of these aspects, because a maladaptation can harm you physically, mentally, and socially as well, and in the same case malignancy as well. So that's why I'm using the word disease for them. Positive and negative here are two kinds of qualities. Good qualities, like they denote good, and oh man, did I delete too much of it? Okay, are two kinds of qualities. I need to delete just this little part right here. Again, back to reading more. So they denote good and bad or unhealthy aspects of a thing as well. Okay, so of the same thing, they denote the good and bad aspects, and they also denote qualities. So qualities are different from the aspect of a particular thing. All right. However, in case of maladaptation, malignancy, both the positive and the negative aspects, that is the good and the bad qualities, become bad or unhealthy. So this is what I have been trying to tell you for, I mean, like previously this is what I was trying to tell you, but I made it so complex that you wouldn't have understood it, so that's why we had to break it up. So positive qualities, there are positive qualities, and this is what we take as positivity or positive. But these qualities, when they become too excessive, when they become in large amounts, they actually contribute to harming the person. Okay, like they don't remain positive anymore. I mean, they, like they are defined as positive, but now they've crossed the threshold of where positive remains positive, if you get what I'm trying to say. I mean, like positive, I mean, they don't remain positive anymore, but they are still positive. So positive crosses the limit of positivity and turns into bad positive. It's, it's just a word positive, that is used to denote some specific qualities that we consider as being good or healthy. Okay, so if I'm telling you that bad loyalty or bad honesty, so what I'm trying to say here is that, yeah, the honesty is that this quality, honesty, is related to the positive quality, is related to a positive quality, or is a part of positive quality. But it has become too excessive, or it has taken such a turn that even this positive quality has now become worse, has now become unhealthy, has now become bad, not negative exactly, but bad. I'll explain it to you in detail later on. Having too much of the positive qualities, like being too honest or being too trustful of others or being too disciplined or too loyal, and I can relate to that, or too friendly, also leads to it being bad. However, there can be difference between the negative bad and the positive bad. Okay, so this is the negative bad now and the positive bad. This is how I'm trying to differentiate between them. The negative bad becomes bad in earlier stages, whereas the positive aspect takes longer time to turn bad, and the negative aspect can have much more dire aspects if it reaches the same stage of being bad as the positive aspect does when it becomes a maladaptation. So, what I'm trying to say is that bad, positive. So, positive qualities become bad very, like, when they reach a particular limit, which is too much for positive qualities and too little for negative qualities. So negative qualities are bad from the very starting, but positive qualities are good in the start, and they become bad quite later on. Okay, after a lot of time, or after reaching a very good healthy limit, after that they start causing harm. But negative bad, or you just say that negative, you don't actually need to use the word bad here, because negative is already bad. Or you can say that negative is not, I mean, not negative is not already always bad, but the limit for negative to become bad is much less than it is for positive. Because I mean, being mistrustful, I mean, being, like being wary of others and being always cautious of others, can be considered a kind of a negative thing. But in small amounts, it is necessary for us to live in this world, because if we don't have any kind of this negative feeling of mistrustfulness, then we'll start blindly trusting people and fall into traps and debts and much more, right? So a little bit of negative is also good. It's also good to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So in that case, we can't eliminate negative as well. But when we become too much mistrustful, then that is when it becomes bad, or it becomes harmful. The negative bad becomes bad in earlier stages, whereas the positive aspect takes much longer time to turn bad, and the negative aspect can also have much more bad effects than the positive will have. Okay, so let's say that positive is at 2 and negative is at 2. So the kind of effects that negative will have at 2 will be much more worse than the positive, if than the positive will have at 2, or we can say the bad positive will have at 2. The negative bad becomes bad in earlier positive aspect does. The negative aspect can cause serious harm not just to oneself but to others as well, which not only includes social harm but most likely also includes physical and mental harm. Okay, so what I'm saying is that it also includes, so negative bad also includes physical and mental harm. For example, a person who trusts too much has a maladaptation. Okay, so first we'll consider a person who trusts too much. He has a maladaptation, right? That may lead to him trusting almost anyone. So this will most likely cause harm only to himself. So let's say that there is a person who he trusts too much and he follows some people blindly, that leads him into a trap, into a kind of like it harms him. So it will harm only that one person. Okay, nobody else is affected. But let's say that there is another case where a person who does not trust anyone at all, which is a form of malignancy here, can lead to harm to not only oneself but also to others. So he will, or he or she will harm not only one himself or herself but also others. If, say, a person such as this suspects someone of stealing or cheating or telling a lie or instigating a rebellious act, so let's say that such a person who is very mistrustful of others, suspects someone that like something was missing. Let's say he runs a shop and something is missing from his shop, and he suspects someone, even without any evidence. He suspects that this person must have done that, and even when that person tries to defend himself, he doesn't trust anyone. Okay, sorry, what the word is any much. So he doesn't trust him at all. So what will that person do? That person will soon become aggressive and start fighting with him. They will not believe that person even if that person is telling the truth, and will punish them upon their own belief that the opposite party must have done it and is now telling lies or making excuses. Okay, so now they will believe only themselves, that no, this person must be lying, and that this person must be lying. He must have cheated me, or he must have stolen my products, or like uh, robbed something. Yeah, it could be anything, and will punish them upon their own belief that the opposite party must have done it and is now telling lies or making excuses. Sometimes these people may also fight with or punish the other person even when there is evidence supporting the other person. So let's say even if the other person has slight evidence which supports their side of the story, this person will most likely ignore it. Okay, this person will most likely ignore it and start a fight with the other person. These kinds of people possess another inherent attribute besides not trusting anyone. So these things go side and side. So what two things go side by side? First is that a person who does not trust anyone will always trust himself. Okay, because you have to trust something or someone. I mean, if there is a thing that has happened or that has taken place, and you have to form a judgment according to that, so either you will trust that other person who is defending himself, or you will trust yourself that the what the other person is saying is wrong. Okay, you will have to trust one person's judgment, either your own judgment or the other person's judgment, which is they trust themselves too much. Because if they are not trusting the other person and still punish them because they think that the other person has done something wrong, that obviously means that they are trusting their judgment, this judgment of theirs. So apart from not trusting anyone else, they also trust themselves too much. Okay, so if you still punish that other person even though he says that he has not done it, so you have to believe one of the people, right? Either you believe him that he is telling the truth, he hasn't done anything, or you believe yourself that no, somewhere deep inside I know that he is telling lies. So you believe yourself and you punish that person, and you believe that person and leave him. There can be only one consequence, right? So if you decide to leave him, then you won't hold a grudge against him either. But if you keep on holding a grudge, or you punish him, or you fight with him, that means that you have thought yourself as the right, as the person who is thinking the right thing, or you are trusting yourself, your thoughts, your intuitions. It means that the decision is being made on their own judgment, statement, or intuition. Such a person, especially in a powerful position, can be really harmful for society, as they will barely believe anyone else apart from themselves. A very fitting example could be Adolf Hitler. So he believed that his idea was the perfect thing, his idea was correct, and anybody else whatever anyone else was saying was telling lies, was against humanity, was against Germany, his nation, and all that bullshit that he sprouted during his time. So obviously there was someone he believed very much, and that person was he himself, and he did not trust anyone else apart from himself. This is the reason why malignancy is often found in people of superior position, or people who need to be always wary of other people, such as dictators, spies, gangsters, policemen, and army soldiers. Now, an ideal person has a balance of both positive and negative qualities. He is trustful of others but mistrustful as well, or you can say mistrusting as well. He is honest, but sometimes when something much more valuable or precious is at stake, he should become dishonest as well. He should be friendly, but not too friendly so that everyone takes advantage of him. Think of it as a scale of 5 which runs in two directions, only for representation purpose, of course. And in the middle of the scale is a point 0. From here, the positive qualities are to the right side and the negative qualities to the left side. So let's consider that whoever is on 0 has the exact balance between positive and negative qualities. And after they cross 0, they will go in either of the direction, either the positive direction or the negative direction, and each step will take them. Or you can say, let's just say that the 0 is, 0 is what? 0 is actually just a neutral point, that the person at 0 has no positive qualities or no negative qualities, and the direction in which he moves, it will be either a positive direction or it will either be negative direction with a perfect combination, with a perfect balance. So let's say if he moves 1 point to the left, to the positive side, then he will have +1 positive quality, but he will also have the right amount of negative quality. Let's just imagine it as that. But after he crosses the threshold of that positive, of the good positive, then he will have an imbalance of positive, or then he will say that, let's say that the, it's similar to how atoms work. Too much of electrons, too much many electrons will also unbalance the atom, causing it to explode, or too many protons will also cause it, will also unbalance it. So it needs to have, but however, an atom can hold a certain amount of protons more than the electrons, or sometimes electrons more than protons. So it is similar to that you can hold a little bit of you can hold more positive or negative qualities up to a certain limit, more than the actual or the ideal amount. So let's say that the ideal amount of positive and negative is 0, but you can hold a little bit of positive, a little bit of positive qualities. Let's say you can hold 2 extra positive qualities, but after that the positive will start to become bad, it will start to affect you in a worse way. In the same case, there's a limit for negative as well, but just the difference is that the limit is much shorter than the positive one. So you can hold a bit of negative qualities, you can not just negative qualities, you can hold a bit of negative qualities more than the positive qualities, but after you cross that limit, then it will start harming you again. So this is what I'm trying to explain in here, display in here. From here, the positive qualities are to the right side and the negative qualities to the left side. There are 2 points in each line, which if we surpass, we start forming malignancies and maladaptations. So let's say after you cross -2 on the left side, that is, you start forming, malignancies. And if you cross 3 on the positive side, that is on the right side, you start forming maladaptations. Maladaptation represent nothing but bad positive, and malignancy represent nothing but harmful negative. Okay, so bad positive and harmful negative. Use these two words. These very accurately define their work, their effect. The symbol negative or minus here is only used to denote the negative side and does not denote less or decreased quantity. Okay, so it's not like -1 is smaller than 2 or -3 is smaller than 2. It represents, and actually the quantity is exactly the same. It only represents the direction or the negative aspect. So it isn't like it's not attached with the numerical. Now an ideal person has to be neutral, that is at point 0. So not neutral, neutral word is actually wrong here. You can say has to be perfectly balanced. Balanced with both positive and negative qualities, which is point 0. Okay, so I guess that's it for today. We will start the 8 stages of development in the next video with a fresh mind, so that you will be able to take in more than you would be able to if you started it right away. So alright, just